All right, we'll return to the open meeting tonight and we'll begin with our opening exercises. Item 5 tonight is our pledge. Ms. Rollins.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce Miss London White as our pledge leader this evening. London is a 5th grade student at Sloan Creek Intermediate School. Her favorite subject in school is math, and she dreams of becoming a veterinarian one day. London has a pet guinea pig named Lola and a golden doodle puppy named Bella. In her free time, London enjoys playing basketball and softball. She loves art. Her favorite memory of 5th grade so far is playing Foursquare with friends during PE. London's friends describe her as funny, kind, and trustworthy. Thank you for being here this evening, London and family. London might have a special treat after the pledges for us tonight as well.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That was a really nice treat. Thank you again. Recognitions tonight, Dr. Zambezi.
Members of the board, Superintendent Cordell, thank you so much for having us tonight. I'm the proud principal of Lovejoy High School, and we have already had a very, very successful spring. Tonight, we're going to start with state recognitions, and first up is wrestling. Extremely proud of our coaches and our student athletes in wrestling and all they've accomplished. And I'd like to introduce Coach Dubuque to go over the state awards.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm Coach Dubuque. I moved here from New York. Right, super excited to be here. Thank you all for being here and recognizing the wrestling team. First, I'm going to start off with Eli Silva. He is at work currently. He's a junior. He'll be back next year, but he was second place at regional state qualifier for state. Super excited for his success as he comes through his senior year. Looking to do big things there. First, we're going to start off with Errol Ogle-Gazarza. Right, she came out as a freshman with me, first girl I've ever coached, right, in women's wrestling. Just to see the success from a freshman has been great. I'm excited to see where she's going to go in the next 3 years. Sophomore, junior, senior. She's going to be amazing for us. So first off, Arrow Ogle-Garza. Second up, we got Elijah Strand. He's been through some adversity, I would say, throughout the season, but super excited how he was resilient, overcame everything, made it state qualifier. He was 5th at regionals, and he got that wild card bid into state. Had a good time. He reached his goal, so super excited for him and what he's going to accomplish in college next year. Elijah Strand. Next, we got Andrew Kotecki. He's been in the wrestling program for a while with us. He's got a great name. He's also the all-time career wins record holder now here at Lovejoy at 139 wins. Super impressive. I'm just grateful to be his coach, be there around, surrounded by him and his leadership that he gave our team for his senior year. So we got Andrew Kotecki. Last but not least, we got Sam Reynolds. Inspiring. That's the word I can say. I'll never forget. Right. It was regionals. And he goes, Coach, I don't know if I can wrestle today. Right. And he pulls up in that car. I don't feel good, Coach. Right. We all know the story about Sam. Shows up to regionals, goes undefeated, first place champion, goes on to state, undefeated there, showed out 24-0 undefeated record, going to SWOSU, right, to go play college football. So super excited to see this story. He should be on SportsCenter one day. I'm excited to see his success, his journey. Hope he comes back and we can get some Linkies or something at a barbecue. Sam Reynolds. Thank you again for coming out and supporting us. And I appreciate you recognizing us, Lovejoy Wrestling. Excited to build this program and see where we're going to go in the near future. Big things are coming for sure.
All right, next up for state recognitions is going to be our Lovejoy High School swim and dive team. Extremely proud of this team as well. I had the privilege of going down to New Caney at regionals, and every time you looked around that natatorium, half of the regional qualifiers there, it seemed like, were Lovejoy Leopards, and that was really special. So I'm going to introduce Coach Bollinger to come up here and talk about our state qualifiers for swim.
I would like to start off just by thanking everyone for allowing us to be here and recognizing the swim program. It's been a really good season for us. Last year, we placed 12th and 16th, I believe. This year was 10th and 12th. So girls and boys both did better. I was looking at the numbers today. It's actually the second best in program history. So I'm super happy with that. As for my swimmers, they all did great at regionals. We got a lot more to state than last year. So I have quite a few here. I'm going to start off with Violet Almazan. Violet qualified in 2 events. Sadly, one of the events was disqualified for a false start. But along with her teammates in the 200 freestyle relay, she placed 9th. Violet, come on up. Next, I have Cora Craver. She's one of my 2 freshmen that made it to state this year. She made it in the 200 freestyle relay along with Violet. She placed 9th. So Cora, come on up. Next is Ava Easley. Ava last year got stuck so the way swimming works, if you get in the B final, you can't place first. So she got stuck in the B final last year in one of her events, and her club coach, more than me, but has been drilling it, and you can't have that morning swim. You swim like a second place, a first place swimmer. So she didn't get the gold this year, but she will next year. She got silver in the 100 backstroke. She placed 5th in the 100 freestyle. And then she was also part of that 200 freestyle relay that got 9th place. So Ava, come on up. Next is Maria Foro. Maria is a fantastic diver. Sadly, this year, she's runner-up instead of gold, but I think it's amazing that I can say sadly before saying someone's runner-up. So she did amazing this year. She's extremely talented, and I'm glad to have her on my team. Maria, come on up. Thank you. My second to last girl over here is Sarah Gable. Sarah Gable had the craziest breaststroke swim at regionals. It was quite the surprise to everyone, including her. We were all so happy, and she had another great swim at state. She placed 20th at state. She's a top 20 girls in breaststroke. So I'm glad to have her on my team. Sarah, come on up. And last of the girls, but certainly not least, I have Grace Hugh. Grace, just like some of the other girls up there, was on 2 of the relays, but one of them, like I said, got disqualified, and she placed 9th in that 200 freestyle relay. Yeah, Grace. The next is Sean Easley. So Sean placed 6th in the 4-free relay, 10th in the 200 freestyle relay, 18th in the 200 freestyle, and 20th in the 500 free. Sean actually got called up. So his time was fast enough when they picked the next fastest times in the state. He was asked to come to state, even though he didn't qualify at our regional meet, which first off is a huge honor. But it wasn't just in his individual. He was also called up in a relay, which with those 3 other boys allowed us to compete at a much higher level at state for the boys. So Sean, come on up. Congratulations. Next is Grant Hugh. Grant, after getting silver for however many years in a row, has finally got that gold. He got first place in the 100 breaststroke, and we were ecstatic. He also got the record holder at 5A state for that same race. He was in all 3 of our relays. We placed 6th in the 4-free relay, 6th in the 200 medley relay, and then 10th in that 200 freestyle relay. Grant, come on up. Yeah, Grant. Next is my other freshman that made it to state, Jack Keller. Jack was one of those boys that got that 400 freestyle called up and gave us a huge opportunity at state that we took advantage of. So Jack, come on up. Next is Bo Rice. Bo was part of that 400 freestyle relay. But for Bo, he stepped off the relay. He allowed some of our faster swimmers to step up. And honestly, for me, that team spirit, putting the team in front of himself, the pure look, you're going to do better than me. You step up, you do it, the team will do better. That's so important to me. The fact that he was, first off, humble enough to look at and say, you know what, take it, take the spot. We'll do better. I'm so proud of him. Bo, come on up. Next, we got Austin Stone. Austin was on all three relays, just like Grant. He was one of those boys that stepped up to that 400 free relay. And he also swam the 100 backstroke where he got 20th. Austin, come on up. And last, but definitely not least, we got Chris Wong. Chris was in the 2 medley and the 200 freestyle relay. He's my sprint freestyler, and he did a really good job at state. Come on up. Thank you so much for having us and recognizing us. I have some great kids here. They're all better students than I ever was, obviously. And I love having them. They're super hard workers. I have some great captains. I'm glad to have them. Thank you so much.
All right, and our last state recognition group of the evening is also our largest group. Extremely proud of this program, extremely proud of robotics and the robotics team. Our kids have worked extremely hard and accomplished a lot of things that Coach Strickland will talk about that maybe the first time in school history, right? And then Coach Strickland has also done a great job at building our numbers, building our program, doing a great job. So to talk about state recognitions in robotics, I'd like to introduce Coach Strickland.
Thank you. I want to start by just saying thank you to Dr. Zambezi, Superintendent Cordell, the Board of Trustees. Thank you for the opportunity to for me to recognize and thank our students for their accomplishments. I want to first start by talking about our state semifinalist 1082M. And it's incredible to me. We have letters that designate a team. 1082 means Lovejoy High School. So 1082M is our team that was the state semifinalist, but there's so much more than that. Before I call their names, I just want to let you know that they were one of our very first teams to win the Excellence Award. The Excellence Award is one of the highest awards presented to a team at a robotics competition. They have proven themselves again and again, day after day. They're one of my youngest teams, but that has never stopped them. They have put in more time, more hours, more effort. They have shown me not just that they can build a very high quality robot, they can drive it extremely well. They can program it extremely well. They can document it and keep an engineering notebook extremely well. I could not, there's just so many words that come to mind. And when I think of the letter M, I'm always going to remember this season and the incredible run that y'all have had. It's been a great year and y'all have made me extremely proud. So I'm going to go ahead and recognize 1082M and then I'm going to recognize 1082R. So our state semifinalist, 1082M, Zion Alam. Pari Gupta. Lucas Baldwin. Lance Lim. Keshav Subhash. Josh Arnett. Curtis Cook. Arthur He. Arrow Ogle Garza. And I would like to also recognize 1082R, and I want to get a picture with 1082R and 1082M. So if y'all will just stay right here. This next team, for the first time in school history, has won the 5A state championship. And it has been many years coming. Last year, they were state semifinalists at UIL. And I've had the pleasure and the honor, the privilege of watching them grow, many of them since they were in the 8th grade robotics program, coming to the high school, working nonstop. And I saw the passion back then. And to this day, I've seen nothing but an increase in their passion. And they do all of this while maintaining their grades, and they're just exemplary students, as well as 1082M. All of our students are exemplary. But I've seen this team go above and beyond in the things that go beyond a robot, the intangibles, their respect for each other, for the program, for the other teams, the younger teams, the mentorship they provide. It's no surprise, and it shouldn't come as a surprise to you, that they have won a school record, which our program's been around since around 08, 09, to my recollection. 20 awards is the highest amount of awards ever won in school history. They have triple crowned, which means they've won the Excellence Award. At a single tournament, you can win the Excellence Award, which is the highest award. You can also win the tournament championship, and you can win the Skills Championship Award, which is a whole nother thing that's very difficult to do. And to win all three at the same time, at the same day, is to triple crown. No team has ever done that in school history, and they've done that twice this year. They have also, they are currently ranked 35th in the world. There's over 6,000 teams. What was the number? 6,700 teams? Over 6,000 teams that are high school teams in the world. They are 35th. And their true skill ranking, which is another metric that we use to track, their true skill ranking is 4th in the world. Truly, this team has earned our respect, our admiration, and the letter R is always going to hold such a special meaning. I'll be 80, 90 years old, and I'm never going to forget about this season and how y'all have put our program on the map. You have brought so much honor, so much success to our program, and there are students, not just the 8th graders, but there are students in elementary campuses that are looking up to y'all. They see your mentorship. They see you volunteering at different events. They want to be like y'all, and you have made me so proud. So it is my honor to celebrate y'all as our state champions. Congratulations. I'm going to go ahead and call them by name. One other thing I forgot to say, they didn't just win the state championship. They went undefeated that day too. And I could go on and on, but I'm so proud of y'all. All right. Apia Okorafor. Christian Casares. Emily Dillon. Grant Rasmussen. Hannah Schnur. Kyle Holloman. Liam Whittington. Mary Sheridan. Robert Schnur.
All right. Next item tonight is public comments related to agenda items.
No comments this evening, President Owens.
No comments? And Mr. Bobo, would you lead us in our invocation tonight?
Bow your heads. Dear God, thank you so much for all these wonderful successes of the students and the teachers and the coaches that guide them every day. What I like to refer to as our quality servant leaders. Thank you so much for all that we have here at Lovejoy. Thank you so much for the opportunities in order to pursue the greatest that each student can be. Watch over us as we make important decisions for this district and the students it serves. Amen.
Thank you very much, Marvin. All right, notification items tonight, 9A through C. Those are in your packet. There are no comments. We'll move to item 10, which is our consent agenda. And would ask if there's anything you want pulled for review, and if not, then I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Mark Wheelis. Second, Jason James. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item 11 tonight is our celebration of learning.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Dr. Zambezi to come up to the podium. He'll be assisting me with this presentation. We are going to be spotlighting our engineering program tonight for our celebration of learning. And we were awarded, Lovejoy High School was awarded a JET grant, which is Jobs and Education for Texans through the Texas Workforce Commission summer before last. And the funding for that grant enabled the campus to purchase equipment to enhance the learning experience for our engineering students over at Lovejoy High School. That grant was a little over $450,000. And so the campus has been spending the last year and a half working through the grant that required purchasing of the equipment, installation, of course, and then training requirements that were tied to the grant. And the intent is that it would enhance the student learning experience and the opportunities for our students over at the high school. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Zambezi, and he's going to talk a little bit about what was included in the grant and the impact on students.
To our students learning wise and also real world application wise. And the exciting part of it, a lot of the behind the scenes work has been complete, and we're really getting in to actually see this come to fruition and see the most important thing, which is to watch the students learn at higher levels. And so we're gonna show some pictures with some of these really complex supplies and items that we were able to order. So once we were able to get through the kind of the black and white portion of the grant and ensure that we were good to go on some of this, you kind of from top to bottom there, you see we were able to purchase the PLTWs, Project Lead the Way, engineering type courses, and those VEX kits are critical to those students' learning experiences. And then the next would be welding equipment. And underneath that, some very advanced robot arms paired with some traditional robot arms that we'll be able to tell you about in these next slides, and then also 3D printers. And if you've seen any of the latest research and some of the things on 3D printers, they're to the point where they're even able to build houses and things like that. And so all of those items working together is really a collaboration of things that we'll be able to show you on these next few slides. Starting off, one thing that with working with Texas Workforce Commission, one thing that we want to be sure is when we get the items in and go through that process to collaborate, what are the best items that are going to yield these deep learning experiences? Well, let's train our students, right? Of course, our staff will know how to do it, but we trained over 200 students right there. So 204 total students were trained on these items. And then what emerged was we actually had student leaders and equipment managers. And so some of those titles to my left right there was safety manager and supply manager. A lot of these items in the maintenance on them and some of the safety protocols are really re-entrenched from our student leaders who emerged from those 204 students. And a couple things that the student leaders were able to create: a wiki-style database of knowledge, new capabilities of learning, and of course, they're able to help support our teachers and it really be a collaborative approach as we make those deeper learning experiences and CTE experiences for our kids. Okay, so after I'm not going to tell you like how many forms we had to fill out and what we had to do. We got to know Thomas very well. But with those things, the really exciting part was when our items started to come in, we collaborated. Hey, let's be strategic to use this amount of money. And so our students here in the first slide, we're getting some of our first shipments in. And I think right there, I would guess those are our VEX kits for Project Lead the Way. And so the shipments started coming in and it was like, you know, it was kind of like a holiday over and over again for our kids as these came in and our teachers. Right there, I talked a little bit about welding. And so one big thing with welding, the first thing that comes to my mind, of course, is yes, deeper learning experiences, but also before our kids can learn, they need to be safe. And so right now we're working with some different C&I staff members and maintenance in order to make sure that our teachers have the necessary certifications. But what you're seeing right there with all those welding items that were on the checklist, that's going to help vent the air once we have the complete approved areas and trainings for that welding equipment. This was one of our biggest shipments. And as you can see, they come in, the students are opening up items. And I will say our students and teachers did a great job of inventorying, right? So we're spending this much money on our items. We need to make sure that it's all there. And then we worked back and forth with our grant partner to ensure that then the necessary forms were out. Then the students had to unpack and obviously oversee with professionals the assembly and the implementation of the actual items through that training we talked about earlier. Okay, these are the most, so there were the arms that you'll see basically some white robotic arms. These are the two blue ones. These are 6 figures right here. These arms right here are the industry standard that you'll see in everything from tech industries to the automotive industry. And so something that people don't know about me a lot, my grandpa worked for GM back in the day. I'm talking Detroit, I'm talking Flint, Pontiac, things like that. And he retired in the late 80s, but a lot of this was done by hand. If you go into a GM or a Ford plant up north right now, you're going to see these exact arms, right? And so they're able to assemble at a high level and a high rate. And then on the back end, our kids are actually doing the programming of what task these robotic arms are assigned to do. And so if you want real world application, having things that are 6 figures and we're now doing that at Lovejoy High School is pretty exciting. You're going to get a small surprise from this later, and Miss Eldridge is going to help me out. So spoiler alert, but this is actually the laser cutter, and you'll get to see firsthand in a moment what this does. And there's also some videos here in a second that go along with some of these really cool items. Okay, talked about the blue arms. We were really excited about those, had the real world example. These arms are not as advanced as the blue robotic arms, but still do play a big purpose and can complete a lot of automated tasks, if that makes sense. And so our students being able to learn programming, learn coding, and be able to tell these arms what to do is critical, because you're also going to need to trust them to use the blue arms, right, when on certain tasks as well. So robotic arms is that picture that we've secured. This item I had to learn about and ask a lot of questions about, but we can make all of these things with 3D printers and we can have robotic arms do things. But if the parts that they're putting together on an assembly line, for example, aren't the right size, you're going to end up with a lot of broken products and things like that, right? This is actually a replica of a measurement device that we have. So when we're making things like robots, when we're making various items from these supplies and materials and these machines, you need to be able to measure. So that's what that machine is right there. Yes. I believe those are Oreos. Awesome. And so one thing, like I kind of started with, this is really just beginning. And you guys are going to see really some even deeper learning experiences. And this is going to be able to provide that type of I guess, experience that we want for our kids for the next 5-10 years, right? Real world experiences. And so while we've been re-looking at some of our CT pathways and classes and enhancing them for student need and student interest, this grant and these items really went into that. And it couldn't have happened without every single person in this room, numerous people around the community. And so now we're on the partnership slide. But when you think Team Lovejoy and the things that we talk about, this grant's a perfect example because it took over 100 people working together in various tasks, whether you're a district employee, whether you're a parent, whether you're a teacher or coach. Miss Gaddy and Coach Strickland that you just saw were instrumental in a lot of this, and also training our students. And now we just like to take a minute. Texas Workforce Commission, we had 3 or 4 local businesses, Collin College, LISD administration, our foundation, Lovejoy Robotics, and local businesses, and of course our parents and stakeholders that we rely on with everything that we do. So thank you so much. Thank you guys. Oh, we have something the kids would like to show off and show you that green machine and to show you some of the other things that they've done. Team of 8, there happen to be 8 things here. So let's
Dr.
back them up.
Zambezi, let me see if we can get the video. There was a video attached
Okay.
that we're just gonna have to log out of this one, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is, what you're gonna see here is the robotic arm, and then we'll show you the. Maybe not. It may not work. You want to try the other one? Okay. The next one. It's that one right here. It should have a video.
Don't touch that little girl. All right, so is that pretty much it? Take the open field? Yeah, so job is.
That it?
Yes, sir. Questions? Thanks so much for having us, but any questions before we?
So this equipment is obviously going to be used and utilized in some of the courses that we're going to be offering, right?
Yes,
As
sir.
Part of that. In addition to that, they also use these to build parts for their robots, right?
Yes, they can do that. And that's another good thing. They're really in it's the main thing is we wanted things that were in our engineering pathways and our curriculum, but it will up our game in regard to if we're approved. You have to be careful where the actual supplies come from, between what pot. But once you do that, then yes, these can enhance our robotics who, as you saw, just one state. So, all right. Thank you so much.
Really cool to present item 12 tonight, which is to consider and act on a resolution to nominate for the TASB Superintendent of the Year. We have a resolution for the board to consider. And so there's probably not enough words to say about the appreciation and gratitude we have for the work that Katie's done since she joined our team. The leadership, the culture, and the just excellence, pure and simple excellence in how we've been able to conduct ourselves as a district. And so what this is we get to nominate her and make application to TASB to have her considered statewide for Superintendent of the Year. So anybody has any comments, feel free. Otherwise, we'll need to adopt a resolution to nominate her.
Move to adopt the resolution as
So move Jeff Wood. Second, Amy Smith. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much, and thank you, Katie. All right, item 13, consider an act on the Director of Transportation, Ms. Koenig. And Mr.
Good.
Percival.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, you're going to consider an act on our new Director of Transportation. I'm going to ask Mr. Percival to share some information about her.
I know Michelle somewhere. So this evening, I'd like to introduce you guys to Michelle Leisure. Michelle Leisure, there you are. Michelle is currently serving as Transportation Director in Allen ISD. Michelle and I had the pleasure of working together for 6 years. Michelle is one of those leaders that is extremely dedicated to anything that she does, no matter the task. Michelle joined the transportation industry as a driver. She was a parent that was looking to get involved in her kiddo's school district. She went to work as a driver. She quickly became on the radar of the leadership there within the department, and quickly promoted to coordinator of transportation payroll and crossing guards for the entire school district. From there, she promoted quickly over to assistant director and then on to director. And so Michelle was one of those people that you can task her with anything and know that it's not only going to be done well, but it's going to be done very professionally. She wouldn't tell you this, but I will. She prides herself in building culture within her team and with just really making those connections daily, not only with her own staff, but with the community and making sure that she runs everything through the lens of being student-centered and kid-focused. Michelle Leisure.
Do we have
Yeah, we're making a
motion.
Recommendation.
Yeah. Administration recommending Michelle Leisure as the next Director of Transportation.
Thank you for that recommendation. Any questions, board? If not, we consider a motion to make her
I move that we hire her as our Director of Transportation.
So move Marvin Bobo, second Mark Wheelis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, and welcome aboard. All right, item 14 tonight is our presentation on safety and security. Kyle Percival.
My mic on. But we'd like to give an overview of some projects that were completed and focused on back in the fall that were safety and security related district-wide. And also a quick update on things that we have upcoming by way of projects and or training for our Marshall program, as well as some processes that we've implemented and will continue to implement district-wide at the campus level to enhance safety and security. And so I would like to ask our Director of Safety and Security, Mr. Casey Littlefield, if he would highlight some of those areas for us.
I can definitely highlight. I love getting an opportunity to get to speak to everyone, so thanks for having me tonight. I'm kind of, when I get to talk about safety and security, oftentimes to school officials, they find the topic to be something that they're not used to. And so when I start talking about tactics and movement and that kind of thing, people look at me with a kind of a weird look, but I want to update you. I want to keep you all abreast of what we're doing as a department. Certainly proud of our Lovejoy school marshals. We saw a lot of pride this weekend at Denim and Diamonds, a lot of support from our parents and community. So I wanted to thank everyone from that aspect. A few things I want to highlight. This past couple of weeks, or this past board meeting, the school board approved us to open carry, and I wanted to make sure that that our parents and communities are aware that we're going to be carrying open now. That's not unusual for the line of work that we're in. It's actually very common practice, and we wanted to make sure that we aligned with what other individuals are doing in first responder and protective efforts. So you're going to see our school marshals on campuses during the school day. They're going to be wearing their insignia, and just what they're wearing on their duty belt's going to align with the gear that they're carrying. And we just wanted to make sure that the community and parents are aware of that. And I think it's going to be really good for them. It's obviously more comfortable. It's more efficient. And I think ultimately it's going to be really good for our marshal program. Moving on to training. This is where I really like to highlight our department. I can tell you all that our school marshal program is extremely unique. We are in uncharted territory. I speak to directors across the Metroplex consistently. I speak to other police organizations, and you're not going to find a marshal program like ours. I get a lot of questions about what we're doing and kind of the equipment and training that we have, and I get a lot of people that are in kind of awe about what we do because it is uncharted territory. Fortunately for us, we kind of made that our goal, and about a couple of years ago, we made it a goal of ours to really standardize our training. What we would commonly find is we'd show up together as a group to train, and we would get that, hey, back in 1999 when I attended the Army military boot camp, this is how I was trained. And when I attended a police academy in 2015, this is how I was trained. And so what we found is that's not good best practice, and we wanted to standardize, and we wanted to align ourselves with what law enforcement organizations are doing across the country. So we utilize ALERT, which is the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Rescue Training. They are the national standard for active shooter response, but specifically wanted to highlight the basic SWAT school that our marshals currently went to. So we have 7 of 7 marshals on our school marshal team that have all been through basic SWAT training. And I get a lot of questions like, well, you guys have your own SWAT team? No, we don't have our own SWAT team, but we have been through SWAT training, and that really gives us a base and a foundation that we can work from. And so do we have specialized units or specialized individuals on our teams? Yes, I can tell you that we are moving towards having individuals on our team that are capable of doing a number of different specialty things. So for example, we have individuals that are focused on mechanical breaching, manual breaching. We have individuals that are focused on designated marksmanship. We have one of our guys is a technology specialist who's going to focus on drones and robotics as we eventually move into that. Ultimately, we want to be an organization that can respond quickly, and we have an immediate action team that can step in and fill a gap with great training and resources. We do not want to be waiting around on other entities to show up in the event that something were to happen. And so that's what we train on, and we feel very confident we're going to continue our efforts. We're going to continue to grow. And again, we are kind of leading the way. We're in uncharted territory, and we're going to continue to just focus our efforts on training. As you can see in this picture right here, the 3 guys that I recently sent to SWAT training, there's 28 individuals in that picture. 25 of those individuals are police officers and sheriff's deputies across the state of Texas, and 3 of those are school marshals. So as you can imagine, when we show up to a training like that, these people are looking at us like, what in the world is going on? Who are you guys? But we step right in, we integrate with them, we train with them, and we receive the same training that they get. Now, these individuals that are at these trainings, they go back to their police departments and their organizations, and they're on their police department SWAT teams. And so again, it's phenomenal training. We get to integrate. So you can see our guys that they had to do some running and some crawling, and it's definitely a young man's game. I can tell you that. So, but it's very exciting to be a part of something like that. So I really wanted to highlight our 2024 drone program. You guys heard our student program that came out in the last couple of board meetings, and we wanted to talk about our drone program. So we acquired a drone through a donation that was made this past fall. And we selected our school marshal at the Lovejoy High School, George Yaquez, as our tactical drone operator, and he will be the individual that is in charge of running the drone program. I have already written drone administrative regulations to support any sort of policy or any sort of guidelines that we want to operate from. He's been through some internal testing through our department. So he had to go prove that he could fly, and he was accustomed to the acumen or the nomenclature of the drone. So we put him through an internal test, and he will be taking his FAA Part 107 testing at the end of this spring. And so we really want to utilize this drone for a number of reasons, but specifically for event security. So for those of you that know that we had Shattered Dreams this past couple of weeks, we had our drone up in the air during that event. We're looking specifically at the rooftops. We're looking at individuals that are posted somewhere in a car that shouldn't be. We're flying our campus, paying attention to who's on site and what those individuals are doing on site. So it gives us a really good bird's eye view of what's happening in terms of event security. Tactical operations, we want to utilize this the same way that law enforcement does. We would love to have the capability of seeing things that are around corners, that are in rooms that we can't access, second story buildings that we may not be able to access, to fly a drone up and be able to look into a window. So there's just a ton of capabilities from a tactical operations standpoint. We have the ability to do site surveys, and specifically like parking and traffic efficiencies and deficiencies we can look at from our drone. This is George here getting his training, and he did a phenomenal job. I think it was about a 13-mile-an-hour wind that day that he had to take the test, and he was hovering that thing right up against the press box window, and he had to identify a number that I had put in a seat in the press box, and I said, you need to be able to tell me what number is in that seat. And so he was able to hover that drone right up to that window. He did a phenomenal job in his training, so we're looking forward to that. Life safety systems. So I can't speak. Kyle Percival and John Korb, our IT director, they've done a phenomenal job this year in implementing our life safety systems meetings that we host. We meet together collaboratively once a month, and we go over our technology. We want to make sure that we are up to speed on technology, any deficiencies. We want to make sure that we're receiving notifications and we're able to view dashboards about specific life safety equipment that we need to know is functioning or not functioning. So for example, if we have a camera down, we now get immediate notification saying that camera's down, you need to look into it. Or it could be from telephone connectivity to a number of things. So because we're meeting once a month, we're really able to deep dive into those systems, and we're just getting better and better with upgrading and efficiency. And then the signage project, this has been long in the making. We ordered this signage back in the fall. It's about 90 to 100 outdoor signs that we need to put up. Our plan is to get these signs up. We wanted it to be consistent throughout our district. We wanted them to all look the same, to be positioned in the same places. We want to make sure that from a signage perspective, that's our first layer of security. When you pull onto our property, you need to know whether you're a visitor or whether you're a person that has ill intent, of kind of what our expectations and our guidelines are. And so you're going to be seeing signage posted, and it's going to look pretty good. And we plan to do that in the next couple months. The last thing to report on is parking and traffic safety. So we did a lot of enhancements this year, 2024, especially or specifically at Lovejoy High School. We were able to go in and get the speed limit reduced in our school zone from 40 to 35 miles an hour. Directional traffic patterns, as you guys know, when you pull on to Lovejoy High School, yes, I know it's a lot of cones and it's a lot of things going on, but there is a lot of movement that goes on at Lovejoy High School, and it has to be controlled in order to be safe. So we implemented speed bumps. You've seen cones and barriers, and you've seen bollards, metal bollards or concrete bollards that prevent driving down the center there in the back of Lovejoy High School. And then we've also seen a greater staff presence, and we've seen a little bit done at most campuses. But the high school specifically is really where we have individuals. If you think about it, we have about 600 to 800 individuals driving on our campus every day that are 17 and under. They're new drivers, and they sometimes like to drive fast. So we have to really try to control that. And so looking year over year, I can tell you after speaking with the school marshals at Lovejoy High School and our principals at Lovejoy High School that there has been a reduction in the number of incidents reported. There's been less traffic accidents, less near-miss accidents. And so we think the efforts that we did early in 2024 are paying off now. So we're going to continue to work towards efficiencies, and just know that with traffic, as we change, people change. And so we're always having to evolve and change our patterns and what we're doing to keep people safe. But I think we're doing a really good job at all of our campuses. And so that is it. Any questions on the school marshal program? All right.
All right. Mr. Percival wins again. Number 15 is Capital Planning Committee update.
Good evening. Again. So tonight I would like to give a brief update on our efforts for with the Capital Planning Committee. Our last committee. Our last committee met on March 21st. We met over at Sloan Creek Intermediate Campus. And as part of that meeting, we came together. Mr. Willman brought in our financial advisor to give a brief, I would just call it an update on the financial status and kind of the process that we're working through as a school district and how that corresponds and translates to the work that we've got to do with maintaining our facilities and our buildings as a district. We took a tour of the main campus. We had a nice thunderstorm lit tour of the auditorium, and then came back in, and through those activities, the committee members completed a SWOT analysis to go through and demonstrate areas that they felt like were important to notice, both by way of strengths, maybe some challenges, some opportunities, and then also any threats that they noticed as we walked throughout the building. Principal Rollins did a fantastic job of hosting us that night and kind of took us through. Here are a couple of photos. We started off in the kitchen area. Matt McCarty, our Director of Student Nutrition, took us back and kind of gave us a behind the scenes. And then that other shot is us kind of looking at the night. But then we came back, did a recap. We'll continue these meetings. Our next meeting will be in April the 11th. That meeting will focus on some additional items and then be providing an update at the April board meeting for both the board and the community. Any questions that I can answer in relation to the work that the capital planning team's doing together? Okay, thank you.
All right. Item 16 is our budget workshop number 4.
Good evening. So tonight, Mrs. Koenig and I will be reviewing the budget workshop number 4 with you. So tonight, we'll be giving you an overall kind of preview of our projected 23-24 year-end results, and then walk through our 24-25 budget discussions, and then lead you through kind of the different scenarios as it involves our Lovejoy scholars, and then review the overall financial model. Okay, so when we look at our anticipated 23-24 year end, what we're looking at here is back in January when we approved the budget amendment 2, we were anticipating a deficit of roughly $546,000. That was based off of information that we had available at that time. Since then, we have explored additional information and sought out grant opportunities for the district. So Mr. John Korb, our Director of IT, applied for a federal grant, which is a one-time grant to reimburse us for some of the devices that the district had purchased. So this wasn't a grant that we were required to incur additional costs. We were able to use previous costs to pay ourselves back for. So that was a benefit to the district. And then when we looked at and did a deep dive into our investment earnings, we see that of all the great work that we've done over the past few years in rebuilding our fund balance, that gave us the flexibility and additional cash for us to be able to invest. And what we're seeing is, again, this year, we're having a strong investment earnings for this year. So we anticipate an additional $350,000 of investment income to help support the general fund. We've also noticed that in our monthly reviews, we're seeing a trend where our medical benefits was trending favorably. So we did a deep dive to see kind of what was causing that. So we had budgeted for roughly 365 employees to participate in our benefits package. What we're seeing is that we have about 311 employees that were actually participating. So we were able to recognize an overall savings to the district of roughly 184,000 there. We're also seeing with our facility rentals that we are seeing increased rentals and rental income, but also with that comes additional costs. So as we're renting our facilities, we're having increased utilities costs, custodial costs, having site supervisors for different events. So we're netting right now to date roughly 43,000 additional in facility rentals, and that will only continue to grow because this is based off of information through financial data through the end of February. So we'll have additional facility rentals going on through the rest of spring. I think it's important to note as we're looking at this is that some of this is just one-time favorability. So when we look at the grant funding, that is one time and not reoccurring. We're not aware of very many grant opportunities out there that we can recognize on a recurring basis, but we're constantly exploring opportunities and ensuring that we're able to identify those grants and then we're applying for them right away. Most of these are competitive grants, so we have to go through an application process, and we're never really sure until the final decision is made on the award and how much we will receive. But we're always looking to grant opportunities to help support the general fund. The one area where we could possibly continue to look at is our investment income that is recurring, but as our fund balance, we have deficit budgets, our fund balance goes down, which means our cash balances are going down, which we can't always rely on the strong investment income. But we're doing a deep dive to see if we can project our 12-month rolling cash flows to see, by using that, then we can really predict our budget going forward for that. And then as we look at the benefits favorability, I'll walk through some future considerations that we're exploring as we look at that favorability.
Quick question, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
I know school finance is different than all the other ones, but if interest rates go down a little bit later in the year, will that impact us? Or is this basically we're getting a certain amount through the
If the interest rates, if the market and interest rates go down, then we'll be impacted with that as well. So we have to be mindful of that as we look forward, that it's not always going to be strong. Great question.
I just want to say I appreciate John and his efforts to apply for that grant. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who does even above and beyond what their daily duties are to search for things. So thank you. That made a significant difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Okay. So in the February regular board meeting, we kind of shared some of the work that we have accomplished since the 2020-2021 year through the current year. I'm not going to go through all of it all over again. What I wanted to highlight again for this year where we've maximized grant opportunities through the IT grant, but then also the facility rentals efficiencies. So we've developed a streamlined process with our facility rentals that allows us to create visibility in what is available each and every day. That's helped generating additional revenue through those efficiencies and streamlined processes. When we look at some of the budget assumptions that we're making within our budget model, we're factoring in a 2% inflationary increase for both the payroll side and our supplies and materials. Now, I know that the current inflationary rate's roughly right above 3%. We're factoring in 2%. We believe that as we continue to work with our budget owners and identifying where we truly will see increased costs, that overall we'll probably see a 2% cost. So some areas may not be impacted by inflation and other areas may be a little bit higher, but overall we think 2% will accomplish and cover for the inflation. Right before spring break, I did meet with our insurance provider, which is TASB Risk Management. They shared with me during that meeting that we're anticipating a 35% increase in our property and liability insurance. So we've updated the model to reflect that. What that means for the district is we're currently paying roughly $433,000 in insurance. So that's an increase of roughly $152,000. How this compares to the 23 change from 23 to 24, we saw about 11% increase in overall insurance. Most of that was within our property insurance, which was 18%. We saw a decrease in our vehicle liability because we have less vehicles in our fleet. If you recall, we sold some of our buses last year, and that removed them from our policy, which decreased our cost there. But then our general liability saw a 3% increase, but overall it was about 11% increase year over year.
Hey, Thomas, on the property insurance, we're not required to go through TASB, is that correct?
I do not believe, no, we're not required to, so we could potentially explore additional options and
It's
and
probably
get the
worth
best,
at least
the best.
exploring. Unfortunately, this is probably the right number. And I think everybody's seen their insurance renewals, but I think we should at least explore it.
Yep, absolutely. I'll dive into that and look further into that.
I know we've done that before and shopped, and it was clearly the most competitive. I don't know if things have changed, but we have done that in the
With
past.
the construction costs so high now that it makes the insurance cost more too.
And then we're continuing to have, this says here 95.5%, but it's actually 95.6%. I think little fat fingers there. Attendance rate, that's kind of in line to how we ended the year last school year and where we're trending to end the year this year. And then we continue to have a contingency in place of $300,000 annually going forward. So this is just rehashing some of the things that we shared in the February board meeting. Here we've implemented some cost-saving measures through our class size and scaling for enrollment, program model adjustment, our master scheduling, and then a reduction in force. The overall savings here is roughly $1.8 million. So before we move on to review kind of the financial model, Ms. Koenig will be presenting on the first line item here to provide additional context.
Thank you, Thomas. Yes, there are two measures, of course, that we can take. One is we are losing enrollment, and I'm going to share a slide about that in just a moment, but also by increasing class sizes, just by a few students, we can save about $500,000 there. As we talk about loss of enrollment, I just wanted to kind of give you a picture. So in 21-22, we had 4,384 students. Last year, 22-23, 4,210. So we lost 174 students from the previous year. This year, 4,025. So that's another 185. And next year, our projection with just our current scholars that we have in is 3,781. So we're projected to lose 245 more students. So in the past 3 years, that's been about 600 students that we have lost. We do, since the spring of 2022, we're trying to right-size our staff through attrition. And so we do need to lose some staff. When you're losing 600 students, you don't need as many teachers. And so there is, so some of that attrition that we talked about, and as we get through the budget workshop, that's what's happening there, okay? And I know that we want to keep the very best, and, in HR, we're all about, retention and retaining our very best teachers and those, but also, we have to just face facts that our student enrollment's going down, and that does impact our staff attrition there.
So here's our updated financial model based off of all the information that we just shared as far as the assumptions are going. Before we made the update with our current year projection, we were with the deficit budget for the current year, we were anticipating ending the year at roughly 143 days of operating expense in the fund balance and getting to roughly 70 days in FY26. So after making the adjustments, it improves it by roughly 8 days in the current year. And then 4 days in FY26. So this does include the 35% annual increase. It's not 35 each year. It's just 35% going into 25, and then for the insurance, and then a 2% assumption. So we probably should increase that going forward. That gets us to 74 days. So now I'm going to hand it back over to Ms. Koenig to talk about Lovejoy Scholars.
I did want to give you a little bit of history here. So back in December 2021, as you recall, that's when there was, that year there was no charge of tuition. And so we had 348 students, Lovejoy scholars. A year later, September 2022, 231 scholars. And then this past September, 221. And as of March, 213. Part of that is it is still early onboarding. Our scholar families come in, they come into our schools and then they move into the neighborhood, so which is really nice. Our current applications, so if you look at returning students, we have about 170 that have indicated that they are returning. We have 11 applications of siblings and those that were in the LCDC program, so they were our 4-year-olds there. For a total, we're anticipating around 181, okay? I also sorted them by grade level, so you can see where the bulk, and so as we get into, 4th, 5th grade, the numbers go up. We have a outlier there in 2nd grade, 20, but you can also see in 12th grade, we're losing 41 students that are graduating as far as Lovejoy, as Lovejoy scholars there. We are going to recommend to the board for you to consider and act on possibly taking 300 Lovejoy scholars. Did want to talk to you also about kind of what the application process and timeline could possibly would look like. This is a draft. We are getting a lot of questions about it now. The applications were due March 4th. We were sending acceptance notices today, and then if you approve it, we would open it back up in a couple of days and have all of those notices go through and have them due and let them know by May 1st. Then if we need to go a second round, we want to do this without adding additional staff to, so this would be current teachers and class where we have capacity there, okay? We also were going to talk a little bit about a grandparent regulation and inter-district transfers and these are for our Lovejoy families that are grandparents, if they possibly wanted their grandchildren to come to school here in Lovejoy. We've had a couple call and ask about how they can get them here. And so we are looking at a regulation that would allow grandchildren of current LISD residents to attend as an out-of-district transfer student. Also, the grandchildren of current LISD staff to attend as an out-of-district transfer student. They would have to meet those program requirements that we set forth. And I want to be very clear, they do not qualify for transportation or anything like that. Also, we would have to follow all the rules and regulations from UIL that they would have. And we would want them to attend an orientation meeting because we want, we're going to be communicating with the parents and with the parents involved there. So, and Thomas is going to come back up in a minute, but at the end of the presentation, we are hoping that administration recommends consideration and action on the Lovejoy Scholars Program as follows, which would we'd be charged with responsibility for determining the admission criteria, which we've done in the past, and having a maximum of 300 students, which would be about 120 more. Thomas will tell you our current budget model does have 270 students built into it.
Thank you, Hannah. So here what we're showing is we show this in the February regular board meeting as well, where what would it look like if we increased our scholar enrollment up to 220, which is our current, where we're currently at in this current school year, and then also going up to that maximum of 300. As Anna shared, what we're doing right now is we're looking at it from a perspective of roughly 270. We are aware that we are getting a lot of calls and there is a lot of interest in the Lovejoy Scholar Program. What we don't know is there that much interest that would get us to the 300? So what we want to do is just take a look at it from about a 270, and then each month as we're going through the application process and we're able to see and have visibility into what that enrollment looks like, then each month we'll update this to reflect accurately what that enrollment is looking like. But when we look at it from the perspective of the 270, what that would do is it would increase and add roughly 8 days in 24-25 with an additional $667,000 of net benefit. And then in 25-26, it would be a net benefit of $918,000 and increasing it by 14 days and getting us to 88 days and close to that 90 days that we're looking for. And then if we are able to get to the 300, it would get us well above that 90 days to 97 days. But here we're just showing the financial model and the impact of enrollment to the 270. You can see some of the key takeaways here as we're adding additional students to the Lovejoy Scholar programs. You'll see that our recapture goes down from roughly 7.9 million to 7.1 million in 26. So as we add additional students, our recapture will continue to decline. I think it's key to also note that when you look at the previous model here, it shows down there the blue line where we need additional $2 million to get to 90 days. What that looks at is just, it assumes that we're maintaining our total expenditure. So this is really saying we need $2 million of revenue. But when we look here in this model, you can see that we only need 247. But when you look at the math, we only gained 1.5 million through this collectively over 2 years. That's because as we're adding enrollment, recapture is considered a operating expenditure. So that's reducing our operating expenses, which means that our daily operating expenses going down, which means we have more fund balance to cover more days because of that operating expenses going down.
So, sorry, I'm a little slow on this one, Thomas. On one page back, or is it 2 page back, where it says Lovejoy Scholars, where it shows if we had 220 of them, and I guess that the benefit would be 323,000, not the total surplus for the year.
I'm sorry, so are you looking at the first line of the 220?
Yes, we're at
So
220, and then so it has 323,000 if we had.
That would be for that year, would be a benefit of 322,000. So then when you look at it cumulatively, the 220 would be a cumulative impact over 2 years of roughly $900,000. Yeah, additional 47. Yeah, I would say that would be like a net. That would be the net benefit. So that'd be additional revenue and the reduction in recapture for adding additional students. As we're thinking about future consideration, I had mentioned in the earlier slide about the benefit favorability due to the reduced number of employees participating. Earlier this month, Anna had a conversation with our medical provider, and they're indicating that we can anticipate a 10% increase in our premiums. So in order to avoid our employees absorbing all of that, we want to really explore and see how we can use some of the favorability, the recurring favorability there, assuming that we maintain roughly 311 to help offset some of that 10% increase. So we're going to continue to do a deep dive and kind of see and communicate with them to see what that increase is going to look like. And then we'll come back with a recommendation on how we want to move forward with using some of that favorability to help offset some of the insurance contribution. And then when we look at some revenue generating ideas, you'll notice that tonight we're not bringing forward the extracurricular fees that we had discussed in the February regular board workshop. We believe that we can postpone that right now. We don't need to make or have you consider an act on that, given that if we move forward with the Lovejoy Scholars, that would get us close enough to the 90 days, even at the 270. We also do believe that in the current year, there will be continued favorabilities. We're still diving into our payroll and delayed start dates and things like that. We have a couple of other things that we believe will become favorable, but we want to dive in and make sure that that is truly going to occur before we bring that forward. But we do believe with the additional favorability and the 270 on the Lovejoy Scholars, that would get us to our goal of 90 days in 26. We also have the option for the VATRE if the next legislative session doesn't result in additional funding for the district that we can consider there as well. So just reviewing the big picture timeline. So next month we'll bring forth during the budget workshop number 5 the compensation consideration and then the second round of contracts, and then that will lead us into May, where we'll have the final cabinet review of our departmental budgets and be able to identify if there's any in the non-payroll if we're truly seeing a 2% inflationary increase, or we'll have some additional savings or additional cost through that process, and then prepare for the June regular board meeting adoption. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Thomas?
I don't have well, maybe a question, just to clarify for everybody. Lovejoy Scholars will not have a tuition component, correct?
That is correct.
So the money that we're yielding is coming from,
It's coming from the state aid template, and then majority of it is coming from local tax collection.
You can say local tax collection, that means lowering our recapture.
Lowering our recapture, exactly. We'd be able to keep and maintain the local tax collection locally.
And we would be doing that without adding additional staff.
Any other questions? Lauren? All right, thank you very much. Item 17 is to consider an act on the Lovejoy Scholar Program.
Yes, I had shared, I just put the presentation in for a second time in case you had questions specifically on the Lovejoy Scholar Program. Any questions about our numbers? We would be, as I said, we would be looking at classrooms where we have open seats, where, for example, right now at Puster Elementary, we have 4 kindergarten teachers and we have 77 students. We can really go up to 88 there. So there are open seats there that we could provide Lovejoy scholars to fill those seats there and still not have full classrooms. Yeah. So the administration's recommending consideration action on a Lovejoy Scholar Program as follows. Administration will be charged with responsibility for determining admission criteria and admission to the program. Administration recommends accepting a maximum of 300 Lovejoy scholars for the 24-25 school year. And of course, the budget model will reflect an enrollment of 270 Lovejoy scholars currently.
So you're asking us to approve up to 300 if we had capacity for it, but we're just budgeting currently in the model for 270.
Correct.
Just to give us some flexibility.
Yeah. 181. So it's about 119. Right here, yeah.
Other questions? If there's not, I consider a motion.
I move to approve the recommendations of the administration with regard to the Lovejoy Scholars Program as stated.
So move Jeff Wood, second Amy Smith. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 18 is consider an act on the contract recommendations for our first group of Chapter 21 and non-Chapter 21 positions. Ms. Koenig.
Yes, that is me. I have in your folders, and of course, this had sent you the employee recommendations for Chapter 21 contract renewals and for employment agreements. This will be our first round. We still have teachers that are applying for certification, updating certification, working through alternative programs, getting their SOEs, those types of things. So that's why we always do a second round, giving them an opportunity to get those. So I am right now recommending that we go ahead. Administration recommends approval of the employee agreements and Chapter 21 employment contracts as provided. Questions about that?
If not, a motion?
So moved.
So move Jeff Wood. Second Marvin Bobo. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Aye for me as well, sorry. All right, item 19 is our secondary master schedule update. Dr. Tinsley.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask Dr. Zambezi, Mrs. Eldridge, and Mrs. Robbins to come forward and They'll be here to help answer some questions about this. We wanted to follow up after the February board meeting when it was determined that we would be moving from an 8-period schedule from 7th and 8th through 12th grades to a 7-period schedule. And I just want to really compliment the work that these folks have done, as well as the middle school counselors, Mary Mullen, our secondary director our director of secondary education, and Stephanie Krantz, who is our director of student support. We came together, I think, the very next day after the board made that decision to look at some opportunities that we could put in place to help mitigate some of those changes so that it could have really mitigate the impact on students, and where we were moving with one less elective. So I want to go into, pull the presentation up, just sorry. Got the touch. So we want to start off with just kind of a refresher on the number of credits that our students have to graduate here in Lovejoy. And majority of our students, as you will see, graduate on the distinguished level of achievement and endorsement program. That's what we really push our students to complete that program. And what that does require is that it does require 4 years of core content courses. And our students, and this is unique to Lovejoy, they are required to take a core content course each year. And then earning credits in Algebra 2 in physics or chemistry. And then those endorsements that can be earned in the arts and humanities, business, industry, multidisciplinary, public service, and STEM. And we are estimating approximately 92% of our students graduate on this plan here in Lovejoy. I'm going to lean over to Dr. Zambezi to kind of lift up what we do require in Lovejoy that's unique for graduating here. And
Absolutely. Thank you. Good to see you again. So a couple things on top of the 26 credit plan that was on the previous slide. We in Lovejoy require the senior project, and we also require a couple courses, which would be health, professional communications, and a technology credit. And so that goes within that 26 credits or more plan. And again, that all right there goes into the recommended plan of the foundation with endorsement with DLA, which is that 92% plan that you saw. And so these are just some of the unique things that I would say we specialize in Lovejoy.
so what we have, we'll be communicating, if we haven't already communicated, some changes that we are going to put in place beginning the 24-25 school year, is that we will continue to push our students toward the DLA program graduation model. They will have opportunities to complete those 26 required credits to meet that. We also will continue to meet the middle school and high school experience, which supports students' diverse and unique interests and aspirations. We believe that this plan will also support our students in their middle school and high school years to consider and explore different areas, because they'll still have the opportunity to take 3 electives. And we're going to share in just a minute some additional opportunities beyond the regular school day and during the summer. We are going to continue to encourage that rigorous course load, and then also which is supported through our graduate profile, so that they're leaving the high school with a great experience. So some current adjustments that we are moving forward in is that we are going to implement a 0 period for identified courses. So what that basically means is that a period would be 50 minutes, a 0 period would be 50 minutes before the start of school or 50 minutes after the start of school. And the courses right now we are considering, and this is based on some of the initial selection criteria that our students had when they were selecting courses. Jazz band is one that we're looking at, independent study courses, and also some other double block courses we're looking. So we're going to be very strategic in the way that we determine whether these students could attend a 0 period or not. We'll also continue to stack some of our classes, which we have been doing, and I'll let Dr. Zambezi and Mrs. Robbins go in a little bit more in depth in that in just a minute with that. What will be my stacking courses so that we can continue to offer some of those. Our students can access some of the specialized courses. We're also going to be offering some summer course offerings that we have not done in the past, and with that, students could gain up to 4 credits beginning their the summer before their freshman year. The program that we're working with really recommends that we do not extend that over one course a summer, just because of the intensity of that and the acceleration that they have to do in that short period of time. We also allow our students to gain high school credits in middle school. We will continue that. Also, we have not really pushed this as much, but students can place out certain courses. And so we're going to ensure that we get that information out to our students and our families for those that they feel like they can take some of these placement tests. One of those are foreign language credits that we can offer that for our students. Also, we're going to expand our dual credit courses for our juniors. What that will mean is that right now our juniors can take 1 course during their junior year. We're going to expand that to 2 courses their junior year, and then of course their senior year, and they could graduate with up to 30 hours of college credit. And we did lift the elective requirement that we had at Willow Springs so that we can increase opportunities for student choice. So Travis, you want to elaborate a little bit more on those areas?
Absolutely. And so in the first bullet point right there, when you're talking about having a 0-hour course, which meets before or after, we have some things in Lovejoy which make us uniquely special and offer some opportunities for our kids that they don't have in other districts. And so that's really the spirit of that. And when you have some classes such as Ready, Set, Teach, which is a double block class, Career Prep, which is double block class, Jazz Band, which a lot of our top performing band students are in. And then what we're doing now, just to go on a little bit, is it's really, now that we have initial numbers, it's really a partnership with the program directors and our fine arts teachers, and then some of our elective teachers who are teaching these classes. We really get their expertise, or a group or a collaborative expertise if it's a group of fine arts teachers. And we talk about, what are you hearing from your kids? Would this be a viable option? We want everyone on the same page. And we've got time. Our counselors work very hard to get our initial course requests in by spring break. And so now we're really having some customized conversation with each program, because a lot of the conversations is, oh, you know what? We actually have enough numbers and flexibility for some of those really special things we talked about to be built like normal. But if we want to look at a 0 period class or an after school class of 0, then now we can move those classes there and adjust some things, and those students can still have the flexibility in their schedule to take that additional elective, if that makes sense.
You want to expand a little bit more when we talk about stacking courses?
Absolutely. So right before I left school, we were looking over a course, and basically they're very related courses that actually they do stack upon each other. One's kind of a prerequisite for the other. And depending on the subject and the class, and a lot of times the teacher, especially you have an experienced teacher, and we've been doing it that way before, they've done it that way before in previous experience, we can actually stack 2 related courses. So I had one class at 7 and I had one class at 6. Well, I don't want to just, if you do that throughout 6 periods of a teacher, 6 times 7, that's not really what Ms. Kane was talking about when we were talking about class sizes, right? But if we can get that class into the mid-teens, right, and it's a really specialized course, and it's really tied to some of those pathways that we're talking about with those endorsements and things like that, then we're going to try to do that while still having really the average class size that we want to hit as a district.
And a survey was sent out last week, I believe, for interest in the dual credit. Carrie, is that correct? Yes.
Absolutely. And so one of the next bullet points is dual credit for juniors. This year we had 5 sections of U.S. history, which that's triple digits. And so had a good experience with that course, and that offers our juniors 6 hours, 3 and 3 per semester. And that's great, but we're really looking for something to marry that with, if that makes sense. And so English 1301 and 1302 is a class that we feel comfortable with. because it was already being taken by some of our seniors. So this one isn't even implementing a new course or curriculum. It's the same course description that you get from the one that the seniors are already in. We're just now allowing our juniors to take it. And so we did send out an email late Friday just because we wanted to get it out to parents. Today we put it in the Google Classroom for the sophomores, meaning our rising juniors. And Wednesday, Carrie and I are going to meet with a little bit more of our admin team and get some updated numbers out to see what those sections are looking like. But now if I'm a junior, I can leave my junior year with 12 hours of credit, and that's, equivalent to close to a semester, depending on how you look at it, before they even enter their senior year.
And we are currently finalizing cost and scheduling of our summer school courses that we plan to offer as well too. So that information should be coming out fairly soon to our families. Any questions?
Oh, it's really helpful. I really appreciate the dual credit. Makes a huge difference.
Yes, sir. We're excited about it.
So a student can still graduate and they don't have to do the 0 credit for the summer school, correct?
Correct. They should have plenty of credits.
Yes, sir. And we still have those high school credit opportunities at middle school so they can get a head start.
And that's with the 26-hour credit
Correct.
elevated degree
Mhm.
program. And the 0 classes and the summer classes will be a fee-based?
The 0 hour would not be, because that would be during the school year. We would just supplement the teacher for that extra course or section they would teach, but the summer would be a fee-based.
Activity and the work that goes into keeping, sharpening the pencil here.
Yes, sir.
I do want to make a statement in that regard. Obviously, we've had to make this change because of funding issues. So this is not something that we would have chosen to do at this point in time. And when we make a change of this magnitude, the impact on our campus counselors, our campus administration, and our central office departments is heavy. So I just want to extend my gratitude for the hours and hours and hours of extra time and effort that you all have put in, and for the way that you all are collaborating with each other to come up with solutions that help mitigate some of the impact to our students with this change. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you all very much. Next up tonight is to consider an act on the science instructional materials adoption.
Thank you. I came to you early in the fall about that we were moving forward with the process to adopt K-12 science instructional materials. The new science standards will go into effect the 24-25 school year. So it's been a process we've been going through, and I want to thank Cindy Bronson, our coordinator, science coordinator, and also Erin Perkins and Mary Mullen, our directors for secondary and elementary instruction. So just to kind of refresh you on the process that we have gone through is that the adoption committee was formed in September, and the committee has been meeting as a team. We brought vendors in to review the materials that were under consideration, and all of these instructional materials are approved by the State Board of Education. The State Board of Education also came back in the fall and made some adjustments to some of the, one of the publishers to make some adjustments. So what we reviewed and received reflected some of those changes that the State Board of Education put in place. We had a window for community members to view and comment on instructional materials. We extended that over a few weeks so that the people could come in and see what we were considering. And then we also had where our committee members and feedback from our teachers provided kind of ranked what their recommendations were. So what I'm going to ask Erin to do is to go over what we are recommending for your approval for kindergarten through 4th grade, 5th through 8th, and then we have our forensics course that we get science credit for at the high school.
Hi, good evening. So we have 3 resources that we would like to recommend for kindergarten through 4th grade. Holt Mifflin Harcourt Into Science is the name of that resource. 5th through 8th grade, biology, chemistry, physics, and IPC, McGraw-Hill Education. And then for forensics, Savas, Texas Experience Science Curriculum are resources we would recommend. And just some of the rationale as to why we are recommending these resources. For one, all 3 of these resources align to our current instructional model for science, which is the 5E model of inquiry, which is basically just a student-centered, teacher-facilitated inquiry experience. And so the lesson plans that are provided with those resources already align to that instructional model, so it would be kind of a seamless implementation for our teachers and students. The resources all support the Lovejoy ISD Balanced Assessment System, which we've shared with you in the past, so it provides a variety of assessment types for teachers to use. It is 100% in alignment, all 3 of them, with the new science TEKS. They all provide opportunities for cross-curricular connections with math, reading, writing, and STEM. And then also provides opportunities for written responses in alignment with the new STAR testing format that will be beginning this year, or last year, sorry. All right.
We also looked at the Holt Mifflin is very user-friendly for a beginning teacher versus a seasoned teacher. So when you think about the elementary grades, they are responsible for planning for all of the core content areas generally. So we felt like that was a good resource. And we're also using a Holt Mifflin, another resource that's similar to that as well too. So our teachers are familiar with the process on that. So what we looked at, what we're talking about is having a 4-year license with these publishers, and that is cost savings. Come to you before with recommendations for instructional materials, and if we can go with a beyond 1-year license, we do save money. So we are estimating the total purchase cost would be approximately $275,000 for 4 years, and that would be purchased with instructional materials and technology allotment, which we receive from the state each biennium. So we knew when we received our last allotment that we were going to have to, pretty big chunk of that was going to require for the science materials. So we have allocated those funds to ensure that we can cover the cost on that. So what we're recommending is that you approve the K through 12 science instructional materials adoption, and also approve to purchase the materials with our instructional materials allotment funds that would not exceed $300,000.
Thank you for the recommendation. Any questions for Ms. Tinsley?
I'll make it a motion to approve the recommendation, not exceed 300,000 of the science materials.
So move, Mark Wheelis. Second, Marvin Bobo. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 21 tonight is to consider and act on an order authorizing the issuance of unlimited tax school building bonds, appointing a pricing officer and delegating to the pricing officer the authority to approve the sale of the bonds and documents related thereto, establishing certain parameters for the approval of such matters, levying an annual ad valorem tax for the payment of the bond, and enacting other provisions relating to the subject presenter. To the subject. Presenter is Thomas Lowe.
Good evening again. So tonight we are presenting in front of the board to consider an act in order to authorizing the issue of school building bonds with delegated authority. Back in February, our financial advisor from Samco Capital, Mr. Douglas Witt, presented to you all our plan of finance for the remaining $9.5 million. The issuance of these bonds will allow the district to address needs of each of our campuses, such as mechanical system replacements, security camera system upgrades, concrete repairs and improvements, and safety and security improvements. So at this time, the administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the bond sale parameters as presented. I'm happy to answer any questions for him.
I guess you're wanting us to approve this, but you're not 100% sure yet all the funds are going to be used until all the capital planning is completed.
Exactly. We'll identify some immediate needs, but then also leverage the the work that we're doing with the capital planning committee to help identify how to use the remaining dollars.
Questions for Thomas?
I think Doug did a good job of answering our questions last time, so it was pretty straightforward, and I think the timing of the plan makes sense to me.
Motion from anyone?
And the motion language is in the.
I've got it here. I move to approve the order authorizing the issuance of unlimited tax school building bonds, appointing a pricing officer and delegating to the pricing officer the authority to approve the sale of the bonds and the documents related thereto, establishing certain parameters for the approval of such matters, leaving an annual ad valorem tax for the payment of the bonds, and enacting other provisions relating to the subject.
So moved, Jason James.
Second.
Impressively. Say that twice real fast, Jason. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Jason. All right, item 22 to follow on, consider and adopt an order calling bonds for redemption and other matters relating to the Lovejoy ISD Unlimited Tax School Building and Refunding Bond Series 2014.
So again, so we're here for you all to consider and act on an order calling bonds for redemption. So again, last month, Mr. Witt presented on our plan to early redeem our 2014 bond series, which would include payments of $6.9 million for the 2039 through 2044 maturities. This would result in an estimated roughly $6 million in interest cost savings to the district. So it's the administration's recommendation that the Board of Trustees adopt the order calling bonds for redemption as presented.
Motion?
I think it was pretty clear last month when he came in and spoke, just how much money we can save by paying them off early.
The other thing to clarify for the community, it was asked of me a couple of times in different venues. When we have reserves in our account for INS funds, we can only use those reserves to pay down existing debt. And interest earned, to the extent it exceeds interest paid, we have to surrender that? Or what do we do with that?
Yeah, I think it depends on the size of the bond offering. If it's a large offering, you can't just hold the proceeds from those bonds and invest and earn interest. If it does exceed the interest that we're paying on that, the excess would be
Sent to the state, I believe.
updated for arbitrage.
Yeah, so there's no benefit. The point of that comment, and to the public that had asked those questions, there's no benefit to taking a strategy of such like you may in other businesses or in other capital planning. So here, the only improvement, the only thing to do is to pay them off early, which is good for the district and good for us, saves money.
By doing this plan, as they've recommended, to pay down our existing debt, it also affects our possible capacity for future debt, if that's needed in the future. So I think that he went out through a thorough process of explaining it, and I think the plan that was outlined makes sense.
So anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to pay off the $6.9 million in bonds.
There's specific language.
We'll let Jason do that.
I got it. I move to approve the order calling bonds for redemption and other matters relating to Lovejoy Independent School District Unlimited Tax School Building and Refunding Bonds, Series 2014.
So move Marvin Bobo, second Mark Wheelis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Item 23 is cabinet reports.
I don't know if you've heard, but we have a solar eclipse occurring on April the 8th. We are ready for it here in Lovejoy. Weather permitting, we are going to allow our students to go outside with parent permission to investigate this phenomena during the totality. And so we have put some measures in place. All of our students and staff will be provided certified eclipse classes. And again, as I mentioned, parent permission will be required. We sent information out last Thursday, our campuses did, regarding the plan for the eclipse. Our students are going to be receiving some instruction on this if they haven't already. We have some resources we have provided our campuses and our staff so that they prepare our students for this special day. And it looks a little different according to the age and the grade level, of course. So that information's been provided. For safety purposes, we are going to close our campuses during a period of the day. From 12 to 2, they will be closed. We are really wanting our kiddos here at school that day, at least until 10:30, so that they can get credit for attending. But if parents are wishing, or families are wanting their students to, if they want to be with their students to watch the eclipse, we're asking that they check them out between 10:30 and 12 that day. Again, we have the safety, we have the glasses, and we are not going to allow, if students are bringing them from home, because we don't know if they've been approved or not, they will not be wearing those. And then we also have some special Lovejoy Total Eclipse t-shirts that we'll be selling through Thursday. So if you haven't gotten a t-shirt, you might want to purchase one there. There's one on a picture of it right there. So we're excited about this. Oh, sorry.
Good evening. So as far as from the finance side of things, during the month of February, we collected roughly $5.9 million from the M&O and INS side. The percent collection is a little misleading. This is based off a report that's provided by the CAD. And it says 90.81, but that's based off of tax collections compared to the original 2023 tax levy. But you'll see here that we have supplementals and adjustments, and I'll go over that quickly here soon. But the revised tax levy is the 44.9. So when we compare to that 44.9, we're about 96.1, which is aligned to where we were, actually a little bit ahead of where we were this time last year. So when we see the supplementals and adjustments there, that's tied to, so the original tax levy is based off of an assessment that's done in July over the summer. But recently, we were made aware, and we knew through the 87th legislative session that there would be tax relief for the population of over 65. What this is, it applies the compression for our over 65 population, and it dates back to 2019. So it's adjusting the taxable value and the tax collections for the current year, going back all the way to 2019. So those adjustments were applied, and we were made aware of it in January that it was actually coming to fruition. So that's what that adjustment is there for the 2.6 million, and it was upwards of like 4 million in previous months. So that gives us a revised tax levy of the 44.9. There's no revenue loss to the district because the decrease in tax collection due to this tax relief just means additional state aid that's coming in to offset that reduction. So net, we're at a zero balance there.
If people pay their taxes late, do we get the pro rata portion of the interest?
Yeah, we get, there's penalty and interest depending on the month of when they pay late. It's really low in the first month, and then it increases each month. So we do get a benefit from that. And the penalties and interest that we receive from that, I do not believe is subject to the recapture. It's just the actual tax payment itself would be. So that would be a slight benefit to the district. That would probably present a cash flow issue for the district. So we'd like to also welcome Lon Pham to the Lovejoy ISD team and the business service team. He is our new payroll coordinator. He comes to us with 6 years of experience in the education sector in a similar role at Responsive Education Solutions, which is a charter school based out of Louisville. Prior to that, he had 9 years working for Bank of America in loan processing. And then before that, he retired as a flight attendant for United. He and his wife, Han, of 25 years, they reside in Allen since 2000. And they do have three daughters, Alexis, Cameron, and Savannah. Alexis and Cameron are both cheerleaders at the University of Houston, and Savannah is a sophomore at Allen High School. They also have 2 dogs, Luca and Captain. Fun fact, and I'm going to shout out my alum, the University of Houston Cougars. If you follow the NCAA basketball tournament, they have made it to the Sweet 16, which is being played here in Dallas. And exciting for Lon and his family, both of his girls will be in attendance cheering during the event. So we're super happy for him and his family. So first week here, he'll take the day off to go support his daughters in their cheerleading adventures. So really excited for him. So a quick student nutrition update. So what we're showing here is just our overall meal sales. What we're seeing is it's just slightly lower in meal sales through the end of February, but we're seeing increased a la carte sales. We see a lot of the a la carte sales mainly in our secondary schools. And the overall meal participation is down slightly by 0.4%. Matt and I did do a deep dive into the student nutrition budget. And what we're seeing is that we've presented budget amendment number 3, a slight improvement to that. If you may recall that we approved roughly $348,000 of equipment purchases through the use of fund balance to make those purchases. So that put us in a deficit budget for the current year, but we will see about a $30,000 improvement in the student nutrition. We looked at to see how, if we can continue in the current year, being able to apply indirect cost to the student nutrition fund to help support the general fund balance. And what we're seeing is that right now we could potentially contribute roughly $128,000 in indirect cost. Unfortunately, what that would do to the student nutrition fund balance, it would put them at 0 days, at 0 fund balance. And we don't believe that at this point it would be prudent for us to exhaust their fund balance, because that would, right now, 128 days only represents, $128,000 in fund balance represents about 26 days in fund balance. And we feel that it's important for them to also maintain a healthy fund balance of roughly between 60 and 90 days. They can't exceed 90 days. So what we're going to work towards is building up their fund balance and see if we can incorporate going forward, how we can incorporate indirect costs to help support the general fund. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and now for our HR and communications update. These are some of our current auxiliary needs. You know, Thomas talked about some money that we have that we put back in fund balance, and the reason is because we have these positions that are not filled at this time. And so we are begging and pleading. So if you are out there and you would like to come work for us, we would love to have you, especially in our student nutrition office. We need 8 specialists, and those are in our cafeteria: bus drivers, a district electrician, custodians, 3. We just recently hired 1, so that changed. Special education aide, the procurement coordinator, payroll specialist, and guest educators. So if you would, please share that with anyone and everyone so we can get those positions filled as soon as possible. And at that QR code, all we need is a phone number, a name, or an email address. So we'll contact you. Also, just want to remind everyone, of course, we want our kindergarten roundup kiddos to all enroll ASAP. So they can register using that QR code. Tomorrow night is the sneak peek. It's going to be both at Hart and Pester at the same time from 6 to 7 p.m. A lot of staff will be there. They'll be able to meet principals and special teachers and kindergarten teachers, and it's kind of many activities planned for the kiddos. So we're super excited to have that going on also tomorrow night, getting those kids registered. Okay.
Thomas, I can assure you that my senior at Lovejoy High School is making heavy contributions to student nutrition daily. So just a quick update for our district support services team. Our transportation department, I believe I shared this last month. This is an extremely busy time of year for that team. There are several overnight trips that are scheduled in the upcoming weeks. One as early as next week. We've got students that are competing all over the state, which is a fantastic opportunity for them and a great opportunity for our transportation staff to not only take care of their day-to-day routes, but also to get out and drive over the road a little bit, which is always fun for them. Safety and security. You guys probably know that earlier in the month, there was the Shattered Dreams event that took place at the high school. That was a coordinated event with the high school, the PTSO, state and local first responders. And that was really something to witness as a dad and also as a district employee. So I'm very thankful for that collaboration and the message that happened during that event. So I just wanted to highlight that quickly. Superintendent Cordell did a much more elaborate job in her Connect with Katie letter, but I just wanted to lift that up. Our maintenance and grounds team, I put in here Puster main entrance. That was an item that was approved last month. That work was completed. That whole concrete area that was a really tough transition for those especially coming into the building. That work was completed over spring break. But I did want to tell the board and the community, for those of you that may be watching, if you're out in the district, we do have some of our yards and grassy areas that look pretty rough right now. We're working through that as the weather allows. I'm hoping tomorrow it's going to be dry by the afternoon, at least enough where we don't rut up the grounds. But those are definitely on the radar, and we'll get those whipped into shape soon. Tomorrow's focus is going to be Puster and Hart, so that we can have that sneak peek taken care of for those new families. And for custodial, again, spring events and banquets, we're in banquet season. And so that creates an opportunity for them to really get involved with some of these culminating activities where we're celebrating kiddos. And that's the conclusion of my update. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Cordell.
Thank you. Good evening. I just wanted to thank the Foundation for Lovejoy Schools for the incredible event on Saturday night. They held Denim and Diamonds at South Fork, and the foundation board puts a tremendous amount of work into that event. So we are very grateful and super grateful to Sarah Brown, Kim Hoover, Donna Johnson, who was the chair of the event, and of course Brian Dale, who serves as the foundation president, for all of their work, and our very, very generous community as well. Our community that evening alone raised over $95,000 for our school marshal program, which was really incredible. And the other thing that was incredible is that the entire room gave them a standing ovation for the work that they do in protecting our students and our staff. And we had several marshals that were there and able to feel that level of appreciation. So just wanted to extend our gratitude to the foundation and our community.
Thank you very much for that. Item 25 is public comments for non-agenda items.
No comments.
All right, we would be adjourned.